Well, since you're here, you probably have a hemifacial spasm, and I'm convinced that you can benefit from my story. I'll tell you how I think I developed my spasm, how it affected my life, and what I did to cure it. Now, I'm Fortney, and I'm forging my way towards the finish line in the fourth quarter of life and posting videos along the way. Now, since this two-part video series is about something that's medical in nature, I have to put a disclaimer in here. Now, don't make any changes to your diet or medication without first contacting your healthcare professional. This video is for informational purposes only, and I'm not giving any medical advice. All right then, let's start with a brief definition of what the spasms actually are. They are involuntary muscle contractions or twitching of the face. They usually begin around the eye, and this twitching can progress to a full-blown spasm progressing down the cheek, to the mouth, and even to the neck. Things like stress, fatigue, and anxiety can make the spasms worse. Does any of this sound familiar? So, what actually causes these facial spasms? Well, they're caused by something called neurovascular compression. Hard word to say. So what that is where a blood vessel compresses or impinges on the facial nerve or the seventh cranial nerve where it exits the brainstem. Now this irritates the nerve and then causes the subsequent facial spasms. Now it is also possible that there's a more serious underlying medical condition, something like MS or possibly a tumor or a cyst that is impinging upon that facial nerve, irritating it, resulting in the spasms. All right then, since we know what causes them, how can they be treated? I'm just going to list several options here. Now, first, the spasms can be treated with prescription medications. If you're interested in this approach, contact your healthcare professional. Second one I'm going to mention is that the spasms can be treated with Botox injections to the face and the facial nerve. Now, these injections target certain areas of the face and paralyze them. Now this prevents the spasms. Now the injections usually have to be repeated every 3 or 4 months. Now if you choose this treatment option, make sure you look into all the possible side effects. And third, they can be treated surgically with something that's called microvascular decompression surgery, MVD surgery. Now this is brain surgery where they actually go in and decompress that facial nerve where it exits the brainstem. And this relieves the pressure so that the facial spasms stop. Now, brain surgery to treat a facial spasm. Sounds like the nuclear option to me. All right then, let's talk about a few things that can make the spasms worse. First thing I'm going to mention is stress. When you're under constant stress, that increases neural activity and muscular tension, and this can make the spasms worse. It's important that you find a way to manage stress in your life and use it. Second thing I'm going to mention is sleep, or lack thereof. It is absolutely essential that to maintain optimal health that we all get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. Now I know how tough that can be with jobs and kids and everything else, and yet sleep deprivation is very pernicious to your health. And we have to establish, you can help yourself get better quality sleep by establishing a routine in the evening that's conducive for sleep. No stimulants later in the day, and no screens in the bed. Now that's a tough one because we all like to look at our laptops and our phones in bed, but it's not conducive to a good night's sleep. And the last thing I'm going to mention is nutrition. Spoiler alert, more on this one later. It is absolutely essential that you identify and alleviate any nutritional deficiencies in your diet. A balanced diet providing all adequate levels of all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients is absolutely essential for nerve and muscle health. And this can help minimize the facial spasm. And now we're going to talk about stimulant. Now I love my coffee and tea with caffeine, and there's plenty of good scientific evidence that indicates that coffee and tea with caffeine are very neuroprotective, therefore good for brain and nerve health. But let's not go overboard. You know, several cups of each a day and nothing later in the day shouldn't exacerbate your facial spasm. And since I like coffee so much, if you want to buy me a cup of coffee at the end of this video, the link is in the show notes below. Okay then, so what exactly is my story? Well, first I'd like to say this. I'm not looking to pick a fight with anybody's dietary or lifestyle choices. This is just my story, and I'm sure you have your story, and I would love to hear about it in the comments below. All right, so in 2016, my wife and I decided to eat healthier. So we decided to leave the standard American diet behind. So our dietary pendulum swung all the way over to that of being strict vegans. And we were hardcore at it. When we watched all the YouTube videos on the subject, we subscribed to and followed all of our favorite plant-based doctors and influencers. We bought many cookbooks and regular books on the subject and used them. We even loosely followed the no sugar, oil, or salt vegan protocol. But what we soon found out that being a vegan, even in today's society, is not all that easy. In fact, it can be very stressful. As we know, food is such an important part of all social interactions. You have your winter holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, everything then in the summer with the holidays and the barbecues and the cookouts, and all of a sudden we don't eat meat. Now our families didn't understand that we were just trying to eat as healthier as we understood it at the time. They looked on our veganism choice as a threat to them, or as maybe our thinking that we were smarter than them. And you know, looking back on it, they were probably right. We even occasionally brought our own vegan food to a family gathering. Now, in hindsight, that must have been a huge insult to the people that invited us over, as if the food that they were preparing for us wasn't good enough. And I'm sure that we were uninvited to certain social functions because of our dietary choices. Our families and friends just didn't understand that we were trying to eat healthier. So we were under a lot of pressure from them, and it kind of gave us a circle of wagons, or it's us against them mentality. As I said before, being a vegan, even in today's society, is not that easy. Okay, so in this first video, we've looked at some basic information about hemifacial spasms and how my wife and I became vegans. Becoming vegan, that's where my journey to hemifacial spasm hell began. In the second video in this series, we are going to explore my story in more detail, and I'll actually tell you how I cured my hemifacial spasm. So, check back, let's interact, and remember, God has your back. So if you found this video interesting or informative, please give it a like and consider subscribing.